So, my name is Jordan Nguyen. I've been in Terrabats for 1 year.
My name is Mikayla Hong. This is also my first year in Terrabats.
Hi, I'm Lucien. Um, I'm currently a game designer, senior game designer, work at Blizzard Entertainment. Thank you for Mikayla. Um, she is inviting me to give this presentation. Um, I heard like she is very interesting, and then some people were very interesting about game industry. I think this is some area usually people not people usually play games, but usually people don't know there's an industry in the or industry or people from game industry. It's quite a very niche industry. So I think that would be a really interesting conversation. Like, hey, maybe we can share something and let people know what is game industry usually do, and also my past experience. So thank you for Terabytes invite me. I'm really happy to share my career path, how I start from my childhood until my current position. So just for heads up, the contents present in this presentation or the perspective I share just during the talk is only my personal experience. So it is my insight as a game designer. So it doesn't represent any the past employer or current employer perspective or their opinions. So I just want to make clear this is all about my personal experience. Yeah, let's start something very quick, very simple introduction. Yeah, as I mentioned, my name is Lucien Chen. I'm a game designer. I wasn't born in the US. I wasn't born in Sweden. Even currently, I'm based in Sweden, Stockholm, but I originally born from Taiwan in Taipei. I grew up until 26 or 27. Then I moved to the university. I moved to the US for my master degree. I will cover that later. After my master degree, I went to California for working. Then couple years working in the Bay Area in California because the visa reason. So I have to leave the US. I have no choice. And then it ends up I moved to Sweden. That's what where before. So like this, very beautiful city, but very cold, based on California weather. So my current job is working as a senior game designer at Blizzard Entertainment. I don't know how much you all understand or heard about Blizzard Entertainment, but Blizzard is being in the industry for a very, very long time. The company already been in the industry like 30 years or more than 30 years now. And they development such major IP in the market, Overwatch, Diablo, Warcraft, or World of Warcraft, or StarCraft. Let's show you some like really quick video to let people know what is Blizzard Entertainment, what they are working. Maybe you have seen some of the trailer or commercial or people playing the game in the past. Let's just show you some videos so you got more sense about what entertainment. So this is all the games they have been working in the past. So from Warcraft 1, 2, 3 and Diablo 1, 2, 3, 4. They have also Hearthstone, the trading card game. Diablo is dungeon ARPG crawler, ARPG dungeon crawler game, strategy game, MMORPG, and also first-person shooting game, Overwatch, such on.
Welcome! You know there's more out there, don't you?
No one can stop death. From you, I have learned patience, my son. It's about time.
They're all counting on me.
Push forward!
Why would you do this?
So that is Blizzard. Is one of my dream company. I'm super happy I joined Blizzard now. Yeah, and this is some of the company I used to work in the past, some of in the US and one company in the Sweden. I used to work in a Shell Games. It's an educational gaming company, and they are focusing on VR, AR, mixed reality part of the game now. Electronic Arts, I think people probably heard about that. PlayStation Studios, also Storm A is a free-to-play mobile game studio, and CastAR is a startup company. I will cover that a little bit later. And then I work in the Sweden, one of the company. I think probably everyone heard about the game, but not heard about the company. The company is called King. Yeah, it's very, very ambitious name. Uh, what area I work and what area I used to work. My current job is a game designer. I work on the 50% of the time is a game design. I will talk about what is game design, and 50% is about UX design, user experience design. And in the past, I have been working on like multiple genre of the game, augmented reality, console game, also PC game, virtual reality game, also free-to-play mobile game. I have been working on different kind of game. So I kind of understand a lot of different genre in the game industry, but you will say super expert, but it's not super expert, but it's really great. I have all the touch. Okay, before that, let's talk about what's my background. Since I was really, really young, I know I want to be an artist, or I really enjoy doing art and design. When I was 5, my parents sent me to like after school, just learning arts for fun. You do like a claying, painting, watercoloring, just like doing doodling, whatever you want to do. From that moment, I know I really enjoy like drawing things or thinking about some fantasy or character or some environment design about fantasy. So I just keep doing that all the time. And from the time to time, I learn more and more skills, like from water painting, sketching, like body shape or like objective, calligraphy. I think in Chinese culture, because I come from Taiwan, so I also learned calligraphy. The reason because if you want to go to the exam for the art school, you need one of the test subject is calligraphy. It's not like it's not it's using like a traditional pen with brush to do the calligraphy. So I read a lot of manga in the past. So sometimes I was just like mimicking what manga was doing, like Dragon Ball, One Piece, such like big famous manga books. And then I start also working on a lot of things from the different school. When I was in the college and high school, the digital computer start do the digital art start. So I start learning a lot of like a different kind of art, like for example, Photoshop, Illustrator, any things related to art and design. I'm super interesting. So I just keeps doing that. But there's one thing I don't like to do is study. So how bad I was in the school? When I was in school before college, I was labeled, but I was being labeled by all the teachers. I'm a really bad student. The definition of bad in the past time is not because you do something really bad, like I break the law, I break the school rules, not such things. As long you are not study, it's very stereotype. As long you are not study, you don't study well, they will told you you are the bad student. You don't you don't follow the rule, you don't follow the guide, you don't follow the groups, and you just want to be special. But since I was 10, I already knew I want to do something about art. I want to be an artist. And then my parents gave me like a Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, a Famicom machine when I was really young. So I started playing game with my brother from time to time. I almost have all the console during my entire life. I have every single Nintendo console, every single PlayStation console. I have all of that. Um, so when I knew there's one day I went to the art school, art class after school, the teacher told me like, you like the animation in the Final Fantasy, right? I was like, yes, it's amazing. That was like fantastic. I was like, yeah, if you want to do that, you have to learn all the art. You have to learn and being good. I was like, really? I was like, yes. If you can do that, you have a chance to be an animator. If you become an animator, you can go to entertainment industry. I was like, really? So I started doing a lot of art, even in the schools. Um, my classmate was asking me like, hey, Lucien, can you draw a manga book like a 1 by 1 to me? I was like, yeah, sure. Give me $15. I will draw for you. I was like doing that for earning extra money in the school. But all the teachers see me as the best student because you don't study. You don't want to study. You're just like really bad at school. Um, but I knew what I want to do. It doesn't matter. I just knew I want to do. I was want to do the art. I want to do design. So when we're in Taiwan, there's a time, there's a certain age you need to go to like join senior high school exam. I'm not really sure what is that in the US, but it's very similar test as a SAT, as I call SAT, right? Yeah, it's very similar like SAT, but it's testing for all the high school student, and they will determine what kind of school you can go to in the senior high school. I was doing really, really bad in the test. Every time we have a ranking in the school, I'm not always in the middle. I wasn't in the top 10. I wasn't in the middle. I was always the bottom three, the last three person in the group. I always the last three person in the group. But I don't care because I knew what I want to do. But I didn't encourage you, all of you, like drop up all the school. But the thing is, you have to understand what do you like and what do you want to do in the future. So by the end of the school time, I think it's by the end of the high school, I always know school can go. So I joined one of the low-ranking school in Taipei. It's called Nguyen High School. It's not really, really low ranking, but it's not like a middle. It's like below the middle. So it's not that good. Um, that is the only option I have for advance my academic. Otherwise, I probably go to military after high school. Just go directly. After the high school, I kind of lucky because I still doing really bad and at joint college exam, the joint college exam. So that is also the similar SAT things you test and you have a final grade. And the grade will determine what's a school you can choosing, what's a major you can choosing, and they will determine if you can go or not. I'm kind of super lucky. Back to the time, there's a one school called Longhua University of Science and Technology. They start they have like one department is called game science or game development, and that was the first year. I was super lucky, so I got enrolled to that school. Otherwise, I probably no school to go. I need to go to military again. So I start my game development major in Longhua University. That was in 2005. But the school is like the first university in Taiwan has a game development school. So a lot of things is not really settled. Compared with now, it's better. The curriculum is unstructured, and also it's like a lot of things the teacher not really sure what we should teach, but they know it's a hot topic in the long-term future. But I join, I still know what I'm doing. I'm doing art, I'm doing a lot of 3D arts, a lot of 2D arts, and at the same time, I also develop my game design knowledge. But in the game industry in Taiwan is very competitive and also it's not that mature compared with other countries. For example, we all knew the biggest country of the company, gaming industry. Um, now is more cultural, more country has a big industry. Sorry, there are more country become a major industry now. But back to the time, only US or Japan. This is the two big country has a game industry. So after I graduated from the Longhua University, I kind of understand what I want to do, probably not align what the game industry in Taiwan. So I try to see if there's a more opportunity in the long-term future, or if there's an opportunity I can go advance in the design or the game arts. And I knew Japan is not the ideal country I want to go because based on my personality, I probably not really fit for the culture of the country. I knew I want to go to the US because they are major school, major company working on that. And those are company I really enjoy to be joined, such as Blizzard is one of the company. But by the time I already 25 and I never studied English because as I mentioned, I never studied since I was 10 until my college. Especially in the college, you only focus on portfolio, you only focus on the project or theories. You don't work on like school major things, subject things. So by the time I was 25, I have to study English. Otherwise, I have no way to achieve my dream, being a game designer or being a game artist. Studying English from 25 is really tough. It's really, really tough. So I have to make the determination say, yes, I have to study English, otherwise my dream will gone. So in the in the after 2 years, I only do three things: study English, go to the library, and watch NBA. Why NBA? Because when I was in Taiwan, when they have a broadcast NBA games, it's usually in the morning. That is the only motivation make me wake up in the morning. Otherwise, I would just all the way sleep until like noon, and I wake up a half day already gone. So I have to wake up, watch the NBA, watch my favorite team play the basketball. At the same time, I also listen what they are talking. A lot of English I learned from the basketball. A lot of English I learned is basically from the broadcast of the basketball. Um, and that's the motivation driving me continue going. So in that past 2 years, I go to the library, I wake up, watch NBA, finish that. I go to library, study English, go back home, sleep, and the other day, oh, of course, shower. And then I wake up, and then the other day again, NBA, just keep going, 2 years. After 2 years, I got I got the offer from the top 25 university in the US. By the time it was top 25, I'm not sure if that is top 25 in 2024 or 25, but by the time it was top 25. When I got the first my offer, my family and my friends, their reaction is, oh wow, really? Because they knew I never studied. They knew I was not a good student for studying. But they only knew like, oh, you like to draw, you like to do things, you like doodling, you like to art. You are not really serious about studying things. So when I got my first offer, my family, my friend just like, wow. And then when I got my second offer, they were just like, holy shit, seriously. And also the second offer is also top 25 university from the US. When I got my third top 25 university offer, they were just, what? Seriously? How can you do that? How can you do that? You never study. And you got a three offer from the top 25 schools in the US. And these three schools is Carnegie Mellon University, the Entertainment Technology Center, and the second school is University of Southern California, and the department is Interactive Media and the Game Division. And the third offer was from New York University. The department is called Game Center. At the end, I choose I chose I chose I chose Carnegie Mellon Entertainment Technology Center. There's a couple of reasons. First, it's a 2-year program. Second, the school is very, very practical. They only work on the project. They don't work on the theories. They don't work on the papers. They only work on the project. So I want the experience. The third is I was inspired by Randy Pausch's book, Last Lecture. And I read that book long time ago. So Carnegie Mellon is always my first choice for the school when I'm choosing the schools. And also number 4, that school is in the East Coast. For some reason, I want to away from the California so I can practice my English more. So that's the reason I choosing the Carnegie Mellon. So when I went to the Carnegie Mellon, I start majoring game design and game development. So what is the game development? So this is like a very high concept. We can keep really deep, but because of timing, we just go really high concept. So game development is basically the creation of the creation of the game, the process of the creation of the game. So there's a multiple steps we have to go through. One is the creation. Usually based in the creation, we have the ideas. We have to brainstorm the ideas. Once we have the ideas, we will go pitch the ideas. It depends on what kind of organization or company or the place or organization you're belonging to. If you're belonging like an indie game, you probably just pitch to your friends or your founder or your coworker. If you are working in a really big company, you probably need to pitch to leadership, board members, such things. And by the time we have to study the feasibility, what do you mean like a feasibility study? Means if we have ideas, we have to prove that ideas can work in a video game, or the ideas can work in the engine, or how can we implement the ideas. Once we pass that creation process, or we get approval, we will move to the pre-production. Pre-production is more like we study these ideas, what's the market. We have to do the user research. We have to basically make the ideas become playable prototype. Not just talking about on the paper, not just talking about PDF, PowerPoint, such thing. We have to make it work in the engine, or we have to make it work in the device. And also at the same time, we still need to study the feasibility because there is more mechanics, more gameplay, more system coming. We have to study, can we make that system or all the things work in the game? When we have the pre-production, we usually go to review by quantitativity and also qualitativity. So basically, we need to review, do we have enough things? Do we achieve the quality we want to achieve? Once we approve, we will move on the production pipeline. Basically, usually in the production phase, we will have different milestones in the production. We call pre-alpha, alpha, and beta. It also depends on the product and the timeline. They will setting the different milestone for pre-alpha, alpha, and beta. Once we pass in the production phase, we will go to the production launch. We usually do soft launch and the final launch or grand launch. Soft launch, usually we launch the game in a certain region or for certain timing for testing to see the market reaction. Once we pass that time, we will go globally or we will go full market online. Either online or just go to the market. Once the game is launched, also depends on what type of game we are developing. If we're developing like a free-to-play game or live service game, we need to continue work on the feature. We need to work on the feature update. Or if you're working on a one-time purchasing game, we also need to update the feature. Either we're fixing the bugs, we need to release the new patch. And this is the full cycle. Until the game is no longer being valued or no longer profitable, then we will sunset again. Basically, we're just shutting down or closing the project, closing the game. So this is like a very high concept game development process. And in the game development process, we need many different kind of people to helping. We need many different kind of discipline people to helping us to making the game. Making game is not like the pastime. Like for example, 30 years ago, the first Super Mario was launched. It's not like that anymore. The game in the current age is very complex. It's more graphic needs, more computer power, more graphic powers, more things we need require. So it's not just one person can achieve the game. It could, but it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. Also, it depends on what type of the game you are trying to develop. So usually we need many different roles to people working together. We need a producer, we need a project manager, we need a developer, designers. We also need an artist. It could be 2D artist or 3D artist. We also need an animator. If you either you're working on 2D game or 3D game, you probably need an animator just animating 2D animation or 3D animation. We also need a sound. Sound is also very important, but a lot of time people forgetting how much sound can impact in the video game, such as you watching a horror movie. If you don't have the sound, you don't feel the movie is horrible. You don't feel scared. Sound is also very important. Also, we need a QA testing, quality insurance people to helping us to testing if the game has a bug or testing the feature if that works. So we have a different kind of people need to work together to make one product succeed. My role is a game designer. And what is a game designer including? Game design is like a big umbrella. It contains different kind of designer inside in a game design. We have a game designer, we have a level design, we have a narrative design, we have a system design. We need economy design, content design, combat design, UI UX design. UI UX referring to user interface, user experience design. Even more, it also depends on what type of the game you're working on. For example, if you're working on fighting game, Street Fight, you probably need a combat designer more than the rest of the others. If you're working on free-to-play mobile game, you probably need economy designer more than combat designer. So it depends on what kind of game you're working on. We need different kind of people in the team. My role is a game designer. So majority of my time is trying to create the system to make the game works. And then majority of the time, I need to create the progression system to also make sure the player, when they start the game to the end of the game, they have the really good time to enjoying the entire games, not just all the time hitting the difficulty, or do they enjoying the narrative, or do they enjoy the difficulty overall the game timing. And we also game design also responsible for gameplay mechanics. Do we create interesting mechanics? Do we make the user experience feeling good? Do we make the game balanced? So a lot of time as a game designer, we focusing on this because as long as the game is interesting and attractive, we can create an engaging gameplay for player, and then play will stick with us. So that's why we call stickiness. Play will stick with the game longer time. If they stick with us longer, they feel interesting, they feel challenged, then they feel fun. So this is like really three big topic we're trying to focus working on the game most of the time as a game designer. So let's talk about some experience from my career and the past project. As I mentioned at the beginning, I've been working on different types of game in the past. I have been working on the school project for Game for Change. Game for Change is like a one nonprofit organization in New York. So they usually making games, or they want some games is for serious topic. I also work on educational game in the shell games, and also console and mobile game in the Electronic Arts, VR game in PlayStation, free-to-play mobile game in Storm A, and AR games in CastAR, and free-to-play mobile game at King. But we don't have a time go through all the things, so I will just pick few interesting things to talk. So I will pick. Oh, sorry. So these are all different type of the company. Um, there are company like from 100 people to 5,000 people, and also there's a company like startup style, only 50 people, 150 people, and it's R&D project. So I only pick three of the company I feel is most interesting project to talk about. PlayStation VR and CastAR at King. When I work at PlayStation VR, I was a game designer in a team of three. One programmer, one designer, and one artist. And we are working on the first version of the PlayStation VR. It's a VR game for PlayStation. So our objective is trying to find what is the fun things for PlayStation VR, and also that game can unique to leverage the system of the PlayStation. That is like a very, very early age of the VR device in the market. I think it was 2012 or 2013. And also at the same time, one of the other objective in our team is trying to solve the VR issues in the game. I'm not sure have you all experienced the VR games? There are major issues in the VR is like motion sickness, navigation system issue. Such things we have to find a way to solve that. And then working on the PlayStation VR is like a really great, really, really great opportunity to working with like a lot of talent from the industry. So by the end, we make like couple prototype. This is like the final two prototype we enjoy the most. One is a puzzle game. It's a very unique puzzle game. You're trying to using um, the PlayStation controller, the dual sense, to control a sun in a system. So you can using the sun to move around when the sunlight changing, the environment changing with you at the same time. That makes the player very, very immersive in the fantasy, because when the light changing, the shadow on the ground also changing at the same time. That is something you will never experience in the real life. Only you experience that in a time lapse video. The player can manipulate the time position and the time. That is really interesting. So when the time changing, the shadow changing. When the shadow is moving, the environment start moving with you. And that is the puzzle. Player try to find the right position to casting the right sunlight, and then creating the certain shape of the environment so they can pass the puzzle, they can pass the level. The other game is a very immersive first person perspective tower defending game in the virtual reality. So basically we mount the two machine gun beside player's head, and then they have a controller. Once they pull the trigger, wherever they see, they will shooting the bullet, just like the video on the right side. And then they can have using the controller to pull up the shield, so they can using the shield to defend some enemies attacking, and then at the same time they can dodging, and then also pivot the head behind the shield to do the blind shooting. So that is something um, only VR system can achieve, not other gaming platform can achieve. So back to the time we're trying to develop something to very, very unique, and also trying to solve the issue, because for example, I was talking about the motion sickness issue, because when people moving in a virtual environment, their brain and the sense development is not connected. So they was feeling they are moving, but your brain is telling you, your body is telling you you are not moving, but your brain is telling you. So that's the reason you are not connecting your body and your brain. That's why you're causing the motion sickness. So that's the reason we create like a tower defensing game. So you are kind of stationary, you're just moving your head, moving around. But how can we leverage that based on that point of the limitation? So that is some interesting project I used to work in the PlayStation. The second company I used to work, I worked as a CastAR. That was like most interesting company I have ever worked. Compared with the Blizzard I work now is totally different. I was in the R&D team. So basically, CastAR was a company they trying to make the AR glass and also the AR games and also AR platform, the digital platform. I was hired as a game designer working in R&D to creating the content for leveraging this system. Their system is very, very smart. Let me show you. So they have like a table, and that is a very special material called retroreflective. When the light shine on the table, the light will bounce in 180 degrees back to the original source, like this. They rebrand the company called Tiltify a few years ago. That is a very unique platform and also a very unique device. So as I mentioned, there is a special material on the table. It's called retroreflective. It's a material you can bounce in the light 180 degree back to the original source direction. So the device is you have a glass and they put the two projector on your left eye and the right eye. Each projector project the viewpoint from your eye, from each eye. So when you project to the board, you're bouncing back directly to your eyes. So it's a left image and the right image. So when you see the two images together, you create a 3D 3D hologram on the table immediately. And then and beside the board, there's a marker. So your device, your glass also tracking the marker. So when your head moving, it also projecting relatively objective based on your position. So basically calculating where you're moving. So when you project back, you always project the right angle of your looking. So it became like a 3D object on the table. It's a very, very unique, very, very interesting device. I was hired as a game designer, interactive designer. So we are in a team of 4. We have one designer, one tech art, two programmer. So we're trying to create anything to leverage the system. That is super interesting. You have all the freedom as long as you can make the experience on this platform amazing. You can do it, and then of course, you can do something weird, but you need to do something proper things. It's really fun. It's really, really fun. So we do a lot of things. We even making the board not just on the table, we hanging the board on the wall, and we also even making like 100-inch of the board. Not just like a small size, we make it like a 100-inch on the board, and it was just like, oh my God, it's like a completely 3D movie theater. And also we working with some of the board game company. If you go to online checking, they currently working with one of the famous board game Catan in this board. So you can combine physical and digital environment together. So for example, the table can be the different landmark can be digital, but your dice can be physical. So you're rolling the dice physically, but the system will counting your dice number and reflecting to the digital world. It's very interesting. You can combine two sets together. Think about that. If you have you played a board game? You spend like a half hour to setting up your table, right? That game, that device will instantly boost up like done. You set up in the 2 seconds or 1 second, because just like you just launch it, just like oh set up, roll your dice, you start again. There's some of the project I work on. There is like try to leverage a system as I mentioned. So I started working on like what can we leverage a system, and we figure out that sense of the dimension is really interesting. That is something in the PC console you cannot make it. The only similar device I have experienced was the Nintendo 3DS. 3DS, not a DS, the 3DS. Because that is something you hold it, you can sense of the three dimension things. And then I was like referring a lot of like all retro games. So my manager and I was just like, what about we create like a 3D Mario in the real time in this platform again? It was like, yeah, let's do it. So I make an AR platformer in this device, and this is the video I let people play. And people was like, oh my God, amazing! It was like literally seeing like a Mario running on your table. Of course, it's not Mario because we cannot use the IP, so we try to recreate a lot of like game, but we're using our own the Unity free characters. People are super interesting and super enjoying because the game is so familiar, but the experience was totally new because they all know how to collect the coin, how to crash the brick, how to dive into the pipe, and then but they were just like, oh my God, they never seen this can be work in this in AR. And there's other games I have been create is not just about games. I also create some of like a zombie shooting game. If you have you been to like an arcade shooting area? So usually they have like a machine like shooting game. You have to you reload your pistol, and then you need to dodge press by tapping a pedal, and you're like hiding. I think it's called Christ, I forget the name. Um, and remake that game also on this system. That's why I need a 100 inch of the 3D, 100 inch of the material put on the wall. So basically it's an arcade, but 100-inch 3D arcade. So zombie will just like a popping directly to you. It's a very, very 3D. It's like a popping in front to your face. And you can just dodging and shooting. Um, After that the company was talking with a lot of like non-gaming platform, so I started working on a lot of like a three-dimension virtual space volume space interaction. So I started working on like how the user can interact with the virtual world, and then also we try to think about if we can create a 3D movie application such thing. So that's why you see there's a the Netflix layout. That was like something we tried to marking up, and the performance was amazing. Was amazing. It was like a 3D, really, really true 3D application. That was one of the most enjoying the company I have been working on. But by the end, there's an unexpected journey. The company has declared the bankruptcy. And that was the time I working in the States. The last year I working in the States. So all my visa just stopped, and then the company just bankrupt. So I have no visa sponsorship. So I have no status to stay in the US. So I have to leave immediately. Not a couple months later, I have to leave right away. And then that was the most fun job I ever worked on. You have all the freedom to create all the games you want to create. All the games can leverage your system, as long as you can prove it works and great experience. I meet a lot of like a big tech people in that company. That company back to the time was like a racing star company. We have a lot of investor from different area. As long as you can think the big company, we have talked to them in the past. That was amazing. I can meet those people in that time. It was a good job, but unfortunately, I have to leave. So I got the offer at King. I think probably everyone knows the game Candy Crush, right? That's the reason I moved to Sweden. Candy Crush is a free-to-play match-3 mobile game. It's a very casual game, but we have like tons of users, tons of players, from all different ages, right? I was hired as a game designer in the Candy Crush project. So basically, I making more levels for the Candy Crush, and also creating the new game events and trying to think about the monetization system, how the game should monetize the game, how the monetization design can make the game more profitable in the long term. And also, as I mentioned, part of the game design job is trying to design the progression. So back to the time, we have a lot of new users coming to the Candy Crush. Candy Crush is pretty long game, it's like 10 years game right now already. So the game is like been 10 years. A lot of user from the first maybe chapter, 2 chapter, they are pretty new. They are not used to the game. So we have to redesign a lot of things from the beginning. So one of the job is trying to redesign the progression, onboarding system, tutorial, such things. And I think after work on the Candy Crush for a while, I moved on to the new project also at King. It's called Rebel Riders. It's a mid-core PvP vehicle battle game. It's also free to play. Let me show you a little bit what it is.
Okay, we're on.
Okay, cool. So folks, we're here in a secret underground location tonight to bring you some very exclusive and exciting news about a mobile action game we'll be making at King called Rebel Riders. For generations, toys have been played with, they've been dressed up, they've been stomped on, they've been beaten up and crashed up. Rebel Riders shows what finally happens when these toys become fed up.
Shunned by their peers and mistreated by their owners, these misfit toys have set up a secret underground battle club in the streets of New York where they have a second chance to prove their worth.
They're here to let off steam and destroy each other in high-octane vehicle battles, kind of like Fight Club for toys.
Our riders come from every shelf in the toy store, past and present. Action figures, stuffed animals, dolls, cereal box mascots, and many more. But they all have one thing in common, an appetite for destruction. Our ever-growing collection of vehicles and riders can be upgraded and customized to your liking.
You can't have vehicle-based battles without some sweet rides. From jeeps to tanks, spiders to bikes, whatever your playstyle, we got a vehicle for you. You'll be laying waste to your buddies in 3v3 modes like Team Deathmatch, Stash to Cash, Bomb the Base, and our very own take on a 10-player battle toyale.
We are opening the Rebel Riders playtest, so if you are lucky enough to be in Canada, Germany, Indonesia, or Malaysia, just jump in and play.
If you're not in any of those countries or miss it this time, don't worry, there will be more opportunities for you to play in the future.
In the meantime, you can sign up for updates at rebelriders.com, join our Discord, or follow us on Twitter.
So now the secret's out, we'll see you in the club.
Working on the plot and the scheme, the true stock trademark is at the edge of your dreams. I'm talking one shot for the kill, the priest cut, freeze up, straight dropping the.
So yeah, that's Rebel Riders. So it's a PvP vehicle battle game. It's a free to play and also mid-core games. So I work on this. I work on this project as a senior game designer. So my day-to-day work is like designing the event or the features. Also, it's the same as a progression system. I work on a lot of progression system and also user experience system. So basically, the game is more like if you put it a simple way, it's like Brawl Star plus like Fast and Furious. This is an easy way to talk about that. So it's like a very, very quick combat actions with the vehicle. You can level up your character, be more powerful, and there's a different kind of game mode. And the game mode is very simple, just like you can just go and play in 3 to 5 minutes. You finish one match, and you can continue going. And because it's a free to play, so we have to design some features, a system, or the time length fit for those kind of users. Okay, and my current work at Blizzard is a secret, so I cannot talk about this right now. I hope in the long-term future, in the near future, we can talk about that. We can share more information. So, okay, there's some suggestion. I don't know how much you all interested in the game industry, but this is what I learned from the past 10 years. First, making game and playing games are two different things. Making games, like for example, when I work on Candy Crush, basically before I work on Candy Crush, I play Candy Crush almost every single day. But when I work on Candy Crush, I never touch any match 3 game, even match 3 games. I never touch that. Because making games and playing games is too different. Making games is people usually thinking like, oh, you're when you're working in the office, probably like this GIF image, like, oh, awesome. No, when you're working in the game industry, your life is like this. Like, especially I'm the game designer. Game designer is the front end of the pipeline. Developer and the artist need to understand what you want to development. They can work on that. So every single time people just come and poke me like, hey, Lucien, do I need this? Do we have this? Do you know this? Do we have this? Can we do this? They just keep coming and poke me. And sometimes they will prove, I think your design is wrong, or your rule doesn't work well, or this idea cannot work in the system because you will crash the system, blah, 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 such things. So working in the game industry is different than playing games. Playing games is fun because you are the player, you're just enjoying what we deliver to you. You just being challenged. You just like try to solve the problem we throwing out to you. But as a designer, we have to think about how you can manage that to delivering the fun and also enjoyable experience for player, not always just difficulty. And also you have to work with a lot of people together. You have a lot of pressures. Second, game design is about solving problems, not creating problems. And the creativity comes after. Do you know why it's called design? Design in general is talking about finding a way to solving the problem. If you think about what is industrial design in a car, it's trying to solving the aerodynamic issue with the car, right? They try to make the car running faster. What's the product design doing for a chair? Try to solving the issue to make the people sitting comfortable, right? So that's why they call design. Design is a process to solving the problem by using the knowledge you have or in a certain field. Game design is the same thing. Game design is solving the problem for player. For example, in the free-to-play, how can we solving the problem we are not earning enough? That's why the monetization coming. That's why the game evolved from premium game become a freemium game. How can we solving the problem player not enjoying this mechanic? That's why we need to think about how we changing the rules, how we changing the systems. And sometimes people complain about PvP game, why this character is overpowered. This is the time the game designer needs to think about how can we solving that issue. And by solving the issue, you have to think about the solution than the creativity, because sometimes creativity can create more problem. It's more about solving the issue. It's not about being a creative. A lot of people thinking about, I want to be a game designer because I can make these new things. I can make these amazing ideas. But at the end, it's not because the ideas, it's about how you're solving the problem. That's why I'm saying idea is nothing and free. Everyone can have a tons of ideas, but ideas is it's just a things stay in your brain or stay in your mind. Idea only worth it when you prototype it, when you make it work and ship it. In the industry, we always come to a conversation. Some new student, they just graduate, they come to industry, or we used to be like that. Come to the event, social event, was like, hey, you know what? I have a really good idea about this mechanic in this system will be work. This game will be hit. I was like, okay, why? They can talk about a lot of theory. They can say, oh, because this XYZ. Do you have the prototype? Can we try? Oh, no. Then it's nothing. Because only when you have a prototype, when you have tried to implement the ideas, then it became a reality. Then we can evaluate if that can be work, can be fun, can be challenge, can be enjoyable. So idea is nothing, but idea is free. So don't hold your idea and say, oh, my idea was like the most valuable things. No, only when you make it work, that became a valuable. Making games are not easy. Making great game is very, very difficult. Why I say that? Majority of the time when working in a game industry, it's like this. Oh, you have one thing work and the other things doesn't work. You solve the other things. Oh my God, there's tons of things doesn't work either. And also working in the game industry, as I mentioned, it's not just one person work you can done. It's not like just Super Mario Back to the Time. Just one person can make all the games, all the levels, all the mechanics, such things. No, in the current age, people has higher expectation about the games. They have an expectation about the device should deliver the certain quality and quantity. So that's why we need many people to work together as a teamwork. So making game is difficult because there's a couple reasons. Like we need a multidisciplinary people to collaborations. And then we have this one. Second, we have to rapidly evolving the technology. For example, as I mentioned, in the past, we don't have a virtual reality, augmented reality. Now at a certain age, we have a augmented reality, virtual reality. And don't talk about even the artificial intelligence. Now it's coming. People is talking about how can we involve this into the game system. Some of the company or some of the market was already talking about how can we leverage narrative part with the artificial intelligence. So rapid evaluating the technology is also one of the part. And the technology growing really, really quick in a certain time. Number three is a high player expectation. As I mentioned, player has a certain expectation in the current market right now because there are too many games and the bar is setting really high now. Number four, complexity production pipeline. As I mentioned, the game design pipeline is like the high concept we just talked about. Some of the game need multiple years to develop one scene. Some of the game need 1 or 2 years, but it depends on the scope and the project you're working. So it's very, very long process. Number 5, unpredictable design challenge. There are some of the challenge will come in when making the games. Unexpected. For example, how can we cannot make sure the two mechanic system will work very, very well from the paper or from the documentation. We cannot make sure it works pretty good. We have to prototype it, let the player test, let the team test, and then we get the feedback and we evaluate the feedback, and then we understand that, hey, this actually doesn't fit our expectation or player expectation. How can we fix that? And that is a multiple months to process to fix the things. And the other thing was the quality insurance. Quality insurance was like the high bar for the game. We cannot ship the things is like broken or unfinished. There is a really good example in the industry was many years ago. There's a game called Cyberpunk 2077. When they shipped at the beginning, was a disaster. They didn't ready for the multi-platform. So when they shipped the game was a lot of a crash, a lot of like issues. Even people cannot load the game well. So quality insurance is also one of the big things, especially we have multiple platform in the market right now. So we have to make sure the quality on all the device should be working well and good. The other thing is the globalization market. In a different region, people have a different favor for the gaming, different way to play, different type of monetization, different way to pay in the game, buying the game, playing the game. So it doesn't mean one game fits in Asian or 100% fits in Western, and vice versa. So global and gaming is not just a region thing. Gaming now is a global market things. So when you're developing a game, it's really difficult to make entire world say we are all satisfied this game, or it's very, very difficult. So that's why I say making game is not easy. Making great game is very, very difficult. Next one is 70% of the project will be canceled. By the time I work on in the industry about 10 years, more than 10 years. The company you saw, I work on multiple company. Majority of the time, the project I work on either cancel or company was shutting down. This is also I heard from one of my manager when I work at Sony. He used to work on very, very high profile Star Wars game. It's nearly finished. But by the time the industry changed, so the project has been canceled, the studio being shut down. It's almost finished. The game is almost ready to ship. When I asked him, say, how does he feel? How did he feel about this? He just like, yeah, the industry is like that. He has been working on the game, 80% were being canceled. So it's the same. Making game is not easy. Making game is a difficult thing, and it requires a lot of effort and passions to be in the industry. So I think this is like 5 things I can suggest. And then this is like overall my career life. Not end yet. I hope I can have a second chapter with you all in the next 10 years. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So, are you ready for questions?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, a question I have is, do game designers have to change gaming companies often? And how was your experience with having to change and travel countries?
Okay. So your So let me rephrase your question. So your question is like, does game designer change company rapidly, or should we change company often, right?
Yes.
It depends. Depends on the people. Some of people like stay in the company for 10 years, more than 10 years, 20 years. It's possible. I think it just depends on situation or the personal reason. There's maybe personal reason, such things. Like when I'm moving from California to Sweden, it's also personal reason, right? I don't have the visa, so I have to move. So I can't really tell. I can really give the answer. Say, should we change the company more often or less? Because it really depends. Like some kind of people, like for example, I work on a Candy Crush. It's a really good company and also really interesting project. It's like a like international global IP project. I'm super happy to work on Candy Crush, but I also have my passion about making different kind of video games. So when I work on Candy Crush for a little bit longer, I kind of understand. I already know what I want to know in this company and this position. So that's why I would like to move on to something else. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
A question I have is, so if there's any like students who want to get involved in the gaming industry, do you have like any recommendations for internships or classes they should take before?
Um, for internship, yes, I think there's a lot of company was like opening for internship. Um, I also did an internship when I was in Taiwan and also in the States. Um, so I think there's a lot of company. Also, my company Blizzard also recently opened the internship program. So if you're interested, you can apply. Um, internship is one of the way to get into the industry if you are just new grade student. The other thing is about learning online course or learning any course. Um, of course there's a multiple way, right? Like you can go to the college for game development major. I also know in the US there's a more schools based on your discipline for game development. Like for example, there's a DigiPen. I'm not sure if you heard about that school. It's called DigiPen. I think it's in Seattle or somewhere, I forget. Well, they have like a different track when you go into the school. They have divide the student to be artist, developer, or designer. So you can choose when you enroll the program, you can choose I want to be a developer in the long-term future. Um, the one way is you can go to the college, you can go to the school. The second thing is I knew a lot of friends or game developer. They did a major in game development in the past. They study major like in the archaeologists. I even know someone was like a linguistic, like they study language in the past and become a game designer now. And I also heard someone was like studying the finance and now used to be a banker and now become a game designer in a in a gaming company now. Um, Self-taught is one of the way actually. Um, there's a lot of online resource you can just go. Making game is not like when I was grow up, you have to go to a school, you have to go to a technical school to learn specific technique. Now there's a lot of resource like even the Unreal or Unity engine official website. They offer a lot of lessons for you to get start working on the engine and to get start understanding what is a basic game development by individually or by the videos. And there's a lot of YouTuber was sharing knowledge was like creating the games. For example, one of the famous game, The Witness, the developer Jonathan Blow, he has his own YouTube channel. He always talking about his development process and how you do the coding, how he design the games, and the way he's thinking about making games. So I think there's a lot of resource you can to get into understand game development. And there's also a lot of community things you can join. For example, um, Game Jam. I'm not sure if you heard about Game Jam, but you probably heard about what is hackathon, right? Basically, Game Jam is similar event as a hackathon, but for gamers, for developers. So basically, just 48 hours, you team up with random people making games in 48 hours. By the end of the event, they were there was a voting or something. They will give you like, hey, this is the top ranking in this event, such things. So you can go to join those kind of event, knowing people. Usually those will be a portfolio. You start knowing people, and then there's a way you can try to get into the game industry. The other way is you just be a QA. QA is the easiest way. No, not I won't say easy. Sorry, not easiest way. It's one of the more accessible way to be join the game industry. Um, so I knew there's a lot of game designer or game developer. They start their career as a QA tester in a company, and then they start understand how the game works, how the system work, how the production work, and then they develop their interest in the company, and then they move into different roles in the in the future. So
For my second question,
yeah.
how can new game designers handle feature of failures and projects getting canceled?
Very interesting question. How can a game designer handle a feature being canceled, a project being canceled? Um, it's hard. It's really hard to let go. I would say that. Um, because you already dedicate your time, your passion, and your best design into the project. Of course, it's not easy to let go, but that is one of the thing. That is one of the things in the industry. Um, it happens a lot in the time because game industry is very dynamic, very quick. It's not if you compare with a lot of lot of other industry, for example, fashion industry or um, retail industry, such things, they have been very stable in a certain way, right? Um, e-commerce, especially e-commerce, you see e-commerce only become e-commerce because the computer internet became blowing up, so it became e-commerce. But once the retail become e-commerce, it become very stable, it growing up. The gaming is so much different. Gaming is an industry only 30 years, less than 30 years, and you see how fast it evaluate from the 8-bit console become now a terabyte console, right? The memory from 8-bit memory until now, you can have how much? 64 gigab RAM in your GPU, even more, right? So it's huge, much different in just in 30 years. And you see evaluation, the evaluation from 2D image, the pixel art until like a full graphic, realistic art is like so much different. It evolved really, really fast. So um, of course, it's not easy to let go, but the most important is not you don't want the feature being canceled or you don't want the project being canceled. The most important thing is what have you learned from the past experience? What have you learned from that features? Why this feature doesn't work out? Gaming is a service device, consumer service. So it's a product. Ultimately, we have to sell to the player. So ultimately, we still need to earn money. We still need the profitable. We still need to make the product profitable. What's the reason this feature doesn't work out? It could be the player doesn't enjoy. It could be the revenue is not good enough. It could be multiple reasons. The most important is how you understand why it doesn't work out in the past, and then you improve that and you fix that in the long-term future. You may work in the same project, you may work on a similar feature in the long-term future, but the lesson you learn will make you become more succeed. So I think that is the mindset as a game designer should be. So it's difficult, but
Another question I have, so since like the game industry is evolving faster, do you think AI will become like a bigger part of it, or will it have like a positive or negative effect?
Okay. Your question is about what's the opinion about AI in the gaming industry, right? I cannot really tell it's positive or negative. It's too early to say it now. And also it's hard to say how much impact the AI will impact in the game industry because we don't know. I don't know exactly how the generative AI will be working in the long-term future. But in the current stage, it do helping us in a certain way. But as a game developer and a game designer, I can say it's hard to replace part of the game development process. It's really hard to replace us. To think about that, the differences between us and the AI is we have emotion, we have sensitivity, we can create, we can think. Our mind and our ideas will evolve as we think. Game is a very creative and very rapid industry. If you see the games from 30 years ago and now, who knows what's a battle royale game mode, right? Who knows what is um, um, who knows what is the first person shooting PvP game? A lot of things we don't know. That is because game developer and game designer keep thinking about how can we break in the boundaries, how can we break in the certain things. That is the things being a creative people most important. And game industry need those things. AI can replace a lot of things for sure. It can helping us to be not repetitive. He can replace a lot of repetitive work. He can replace a lot of redundant work. But when we come to be creative, I mean creative not just because you can draw something. Be creative about sense, about fun, about experience. That is the part more important than just creating product. I'm not sure, do you understand what I'm saying? Like there's a part of things AI cannot replace us at this moment. And that is the things. For example, we can say, yes, AI can create music, but how much the AI can create a music to really touch a broken heart person? We don't know yet, right? And only the human can create a song to touch some broken heart people, because the creator may been through the experience, and that is the experience they create for deliver for all the audience. So that is the part thing. That's the things, and that is the part. My personal feel, my personal perspective, the AI is still not able to replace.
Okay, so for my last question, what would new game designers need to do to get a diverse experience with game designing? For example, free-to-play mobile educational games or augmented reality.
Okay, this is very fundamental things because if you think about games, it looks different from educational game, virtual reality game, and free-to-play game. It looks different, but ultimately, game is not much different because game has a certain um, game game has a certain element to assemble it together. So that's why we call it games. So when you design different games, we are designing basically based on the same foundation, but we adding different layers of the experience for the player. Different audience, they have a different needs. You have to add in those needs based on the foundation. The foundation is how can we make the game works at the beginning. So for example, one of the really good example I always telling people is, um, chemistry, right? Right. Okay. In the chemistry, making a bomb and making a medicine, are we using the same elemental things? Yes, but it serves different purpose, right? We're using all the basic element, put it together, so we can create different things. Game is the same. Game has a very basic elements. We need objective, we need the rules, we need an opponent, we need a player, we need a challenge. That's the top 5 things we need to assemble it. Then we can call it games. If you think about wider things, why basketball game is called game? Why baseball game is called game? Right? Because it fits the 5 things I just talked about. You have the player, you have the opponent, you have the rules, you have the challenge, you have the objective. It's the same in the video game. It's the same in the board game. It's the same in the educational game, right? So based on that, you create a foundation, and then you're adding on different things. If you want to make a free-to-play game, it's a long-term life service game. Based on that fundamental, you need to create a long-term progression for player. They can play 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 100 days, 2 years. But if you are making a virtual reality games for an exhibition, for example, you have an exhibition in San Francisco MoMA, okay? It's an AR game, it's a VR game, it's a game. But what do you need? You need to make all the visitor in the MoMA museum enjoyable. How many minutes? Maybe they can enjoy it for 5 minutes. You have to create something fit for 5 minutes. You have to create an experience only for that 5 minutes. How can we pacing out that 5 minutes experience? What's the most important things you need to do? What's the objective they can learn from the 5 minutes? What's the interaction they can do? What's the rules they cannot do? It's all about your audience. And also it's all about the fundamental. And then you base on that to evolve to the different things. So if you want to ask me like as a new game designer, try to learn from different things, I would suggest like learn what's the basic fundamental of the game design well. Then you can start branching out, seeing what you're interesting, what you like to do. And then you may find something you're interesting and go for that. It's just like when you study when you study chemistry in the high school or the senior high school, you're really good at chemistry, but you don't know what you're gonna do, right? And you go to a college and you say, "Oh, I want to be a pharmacist." You want to be science, or you want to be something else, and you choose because you find different interests in a different path.
So my last question is,
Yeah.
at the start of your career, is there anything you would have done differently to like achieve your goal?
In my early career, what things I would do differently to achieve my goal? Play more games and don't wasting my time. Don't wasting time. I rather I have more time to play games. Mm, no, I think there's one thing I would like to do is do more non-gaming things. Um, because yes, of course I need to play games, but I would like to study more if I have a chance. Um, because not because I want to be smarter or I want to be going better college or better school. I think I'm fortunate enough to go to a good school in the US. I want to study more because I have a wider knowledge of I have a wider fundamental knowledge about a lot of things. Being a game designer is not just about it's not just about thinking games or thinking ideas. Ideas come from your life and come from a lot of things. Um, if you're really looking at a lot of like a creativity format, like a movie, music, film, um, such things, lot of great works because they are inspired by their life, either in a trauma or in a happy time or in such a big moment, they were inspired. So I rather to study more other things like um, maybe music or maybe another language or maybe study more about geography. I really enjoy traveling. So maybe traveling to different country, seeing different people will give me some new perspective about thinking different cultures and then different objective, different things. It maybe inspire me in certain way to create better games or better experience. So yeah, interesting question.
And would you like a final statement or summary?
Um, if you're really, I would like to say game industry is quite unique industry. Um, and it's a very it's a very niche industry. Um, Working in the game industry needs a lot of passions. A lot of people coming I saw a lot of people come and go all the time. Like I mean, come and go means like they they were in the game industry before and they joined the game industry. And I also see a lot of people working in the game industry at the beginning and then they left the industry, go somewhere else. Um, Gaming industry require a lot of passion because you are creating something you're really passionate about, you will go for it. A lot of people working in the game industry, they are not just looking for paycheck. They are really enjoying creating the experience and really enjoying creating the fantasy, the fun, the experience for player. So yeah, so if you really into game industry, it's always welcome, but you have to be understand it's not an easy industry. So the only thing drive you keep going is the passion, not because the salary, not because the company, is your passion. I think it works at the same way in other field, right? Um, if you're really interesting about robotic, if you're really interesting about um, writing the poetry, making the movie, that is your passion driving you continue moving forward. So yeah, my last sentence is like my my last word is um find your interest and find what you really want to do. That is more important than anything else because that will keep you going and become better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you in the future with
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
your new project.
Always
And
welcome.
yes, and goodbye.